Still odd to me that this is still debated, that direct versus indirect is something still like people argue about. It's like the old UFCs where which is better, stand up, grappling, and then it was like settled. And really what you want to do is the mixture of both. So simple answer for guys that are hopping on here, the right move at the right time. The problem is most guys don't even know what the difference is. And I think I just on my Discord, I just had a guy talk about how he was doing cold approaches and warm approaches. And I learned from like years of experience, I was like, let's just not even assume that he is correct when he's describing warm approaches and cold approaches. So I was like, he goes, oh, I'm gonna stop doing cold approaches. I'm just gonna do warm. And I'm like, well, what are they? Like define them first. And then he was wrong. So it's first to make sure like it's wise to make sure that we're on the same wavelength with it like that. That's just the foundation set correctly. So I remember I was at a seminar and there was a coach up on stage, like just shitting all over indirect. Multiple coaches have done this. One was saying like, "Oh, direct is for men, indirect is for boys." One guy's up there going, "If you're indirect, you don't have balls. You don't know what you're doing. You shouldn't be up here." All that crazy stuff. And afterwards, one of the guys who was really all about direct, we sat down. We're kind of talking some of the coaches, and this guy was like an up and comer, and he asked me, he's like, "Hey, Bravo, I'm trying to do like what you're doing. And can you give me any pointers? I'm trying to start my own company. You know, this community pointers, any advice?" Which is interesting that like I get asked that because normally like this guy's maybe going to be a competitor, but normally guys don't really try to help each other out. But to me, like if someone likes that guy, I'm like, oh, go learn from that guy. So I never looked at it that way. So I'm happy to help. However, I knew I was going to give him some feedback he probably wouldn't like. So anytime that happens, when someone asks me for feedback, I always ask them twice if they want to hear what I'm going to say. So I go, "Are you sure you want to hear this? Because this might hurt your feelings." And he's like, "Yeah, I want to hear it." And I go, "Okay, but are you sure? Like, promise? Like, do you really want to hear this?" And they go, "Yeah, I want to hear it." And I go, "Okay." And then I tell it to him. So when he asked about it, he's like, "Well, I'm trying to become a coach. It's not working." And I was like, "Well," he's like, "Why do you think that is? Do you need feedback?" I was like, "Are you sure?" Blah blah blah. And I go, "Well, you're not good enough to be a coach yet. Like, you're just having success for yourself, but you don't understand this stuff enough to be teaching." And he's like, "What do you mean?" And I go, "Well, you're up there on stage, like having an argument over direct versus indirect. And like that already tells me that you don't know enough." And then I go, "Well, here, let's prove it." I go, "What's the difference between direct and indirect?" And I ask this question all the time. And I basically always get an answer something like, "Well, direct is being like honest, and then indirect is being sneaky or hiding your intentions and like lying and stuff." And I'm like, that's not what indirect is. So simplest way to understand the difference is who conveys interest first. Obviously, if I was going and cold approaching a woman, and like if I did that, I'm attracted to her, I'm into her, and I'm trying to find out more. So if I go direct, like that's letting her know, like, "Hey, I'm into you. I want to find out more about you and see if we click." When you go indirect, you're not doing that. You're going up, and I know this is a crazy, crazy thing to think about, but you're going up and you're treating her like a person, like a human being, not just a chick you're into. And you go, "Hey, let me talk to you. Let me have a conversation. Let me ask you some questions. Let me feel this out. Let me get to know you more instead of just be you being a pretty face." And that's one of the key reasons why indirect can work so well is because like she picks up on that. She's like, "Oh, I'm not just another guy hitting on me just because I have a pretty face. Like this guy's actually wanting to get to know me." And so that right there separates you from tons of guys out there. The other thing is you got to think about how many guys out there went direct at bars, at clubs, when they're drunk. How many guys do it when they're douchebags and they go up and cold approach? And so instantly, like we always want to judge people like and put them in a box very quickly, very boom. Who's this guy's coming up to me at the grocery store, looks dirty. Oh, he's probably a homeless guy looking for money. Like boom, that's kind of what we do. So she instantly is going to think, oh, here's another guy hitting on me. All these other guys hit on me. They're all douchey. This guy's probably douchey too. So that's one of the cons to direct. However, there's lots of pros. Like you're not wasting your time. You're putting it out there. It works. Direct works very well if you convey a lot of instant and passive DHVs, demonstrations of higher value. So if you're good looking, if you have good style, if you're in good shape, good eye contact, good vocal projection, good vocal tonality, all those things, that all comes out and she picks up on that right away. which she probably will, then that can all put like I use attraction marbles in the jar. That'll put marbles in the jar for you. So going direct can help, but if you don't convey a lot of instant and passive DHVs, it actually could hurt you because she's like, oh no, I don't want this guy hitting on me. But if she got to know you for 5-10 minutes, she might go, oh, this guy's actually really cool. So that's where I think like this whole indirect thing came out, was guys who are short and tiny and bald and not the coolest guys and not the most confident, nasally, nerdy voices. Like those guys who go up in cold approach, like they're kind of screwed from the get-go. So they have to do indirect. They have to give themselves an opportunity to start putting marbles in the jar. So direct is I'm conveying interest first. Indirect, I'm approaching her, I'm talking to her, I'm asking her questions, I'm getting to know her. Along the way, I'm DHVing. I'm throwing out DHV spikes. I'm conveying that I'm cool. And I don't think about this stuff that way. Like when I'm teaching guys who don't understand this stuff, yeah, then I'll break all those points down because they need to understand that. And it helped me when I read all that stuff years ago too. Like it helped me understand this stuff as well. But like I don't think about that when I'm having a conversation. Oh, I got to throw a DHV or whatever. Like it just naturally happens now. So it's like good posture. Like you just once you get it, you just do it all the time. You don't think about it. So indirect is I'm talking to her, I'm being awesome, and she starts giving me IOI's indicator of interest. I don't use those terms, but she basically starts giving me the green light. She's waving me in. She's cool. She's like, oh, this guy's, I would like this guy to hit on me. You start getting that vibe from her. And then you do. So indirect, even though I'm into her, otherwise I wouldn't have talked to her in the first place. And at the beginning, but then later, okay, another pretty girl. I'm going to go talk to her. And I actually really want to find out about her because I want to find out if she has more going for her than her pretty face, because there's lots of pretty women out there. So when you start going more indirect, it's actually because you have higher standards too. But I go up, start talking to her. I'm not doing a statement of intent, having a cool conversation. Cool stuff's happening. She starts digging my vibe and my energy. And she starts being very receptive and almost wanting, like begging me to hit on her. Then I do. And what happens is like you're not gonna strike out. So I remember one of the companies years ago advertised it this way. They go, oh, learn how to never get rejected by a woman again. If you do it that way, you're going to miss out on a ton of opportunities. So if you only wait until she's given you like the landing gesture, like landing an airplane, like if you only wait till that, you're going to miss out on a lot of opportunities. So I don't like that, but I understand why they say it that way. So indirect, she's conveying interest first. It's basically a home run. Direct, I'm stepping up and swinging for the fences. I'm conveying the interest first. So I'm not being sneaky about it. I'm not being dishonest. I'm just going, hey, let me get an opportunity to get to learn more about her, but also give her the opportunity to learn more about me by my conversation skills and what I'm talking about. So the questions I ask and all that. So that's the big difference between direct and indirect. Indirect takes longer because you're having a conversation. Direct, hey, you're hot. Can I have your phone number? That works a lot of times. The problem is she might say yes, and in the moment, she's like, oh, yeah, cool. That guy seemed cool. I'll give him my number. 2 minutes later, that interest drops down. I think I'm getting choppy for a second, so let me see. I'll say that again, restate that. So you go direct. She gives you a number. 2 minutes later, she's all into it. She thinks you're cool. She's like, oh, I hope that guy calls me. 2 minutes later, that fire is burned out. So when you go indirect, you make more of an impression. There's more of an emotional connection. So later, when you text her or call her, she's more likely to answer. She's looking forward to that text or call. So that's another thing. Going direct, you're getting numbers and it's more of a numbers game. Indirect, you're building a connection. And later, and when I'm doing it, like I don't use phone game. Someone was just asking me about text game too. Like I don't use the phone or text. I shouldn't say don't. I didn't use phone or text to really build attraction. Like to me, that was just for logistics. I already did that face to face. So later when I text or call, with the address or what the plan is. She's already committed to going on the date. She's already excited about it. She already wants to. And then when I give her the information, now that's just like the end of that chapter and lets us easily make it happen. So direct, more of a numbers game, faster, and you go more direct, like I said earlier, when you convey more instant DHVs, you're tall, good looking, yeah, that works a lot better for you. But also if you're under a time constraint. So it's during the day, before work, you're at the coffee shop, she's at the coffee shop, you guys are probably both going to the office afterwards, or it's lunch break and you guys are like in the same restaurant getting a sandwich or something to go. Well, you don't have a lot of time, so you got to go more direct. Or even less time, you're like walking on the sidewalk in opposite directions. You're walking into a building, she's walking out. And that happened to me with like, I started doing that at bars. I would do that at the grocery store and stuff, like Whole Foods when I was in LA. I was like, oh, where I'm leaving a bar. I'm like, oh, I was waiting for you all night. I got to get going. Here, give me your number. I'll hit on you later. And then they laughed and they just gave me their number. So that's super direct, super fast. And it's also fun, different, exciting. So that way it hooks a little harder. So when you text them later, they're more likely to. Whereas if you're just like, hey, you're really pretty, will you give me your number so I can call you later? Like that's kind of more plain and doesn't really accomplish as much. So the right move at the right time. I move out to LA. I've told the story a few times, but I'll tell it again. I move out to LA and I'm going to Target and I'm looking for, I got to get the shower rings, the shower hooks, the shower rings, the shower curtain. I'm from Arizona. We have walk-in showers or sliding doors. It's all I've ever had. So, well, except for when I was a kid, but I've never gone out and bought that stuff. So I'm at Target and I'm trying to figure out what I need to get. And there's a girl down the same aisle with me with her mom, and I hear them talking, and she's just got into like UCLA or something, and the mom's buying all the stuff she needs for her dorm or her apartment. I think it was her apartment. So, anyways, I'm listening to them, and I come over and I approach the girl who's very attractive, and I go, "Hey, real quick, I got a question for you." And I actually see like her body and her language and her energy change, and she's like almost a little put off. Like I think instantly she obviously thinks I'm going to hit on her. And I go, "Hey, I was wondering if I could just ask you real quick. Can I borrow your mom? I have a mom question real quick." And then she starts laughing, and then mom's like, "Oh yeah, sure. What can I help you with?" I go, "Hey mom, I hear you're buying her this stuff over here. I'm from Arizona." So now I'm telling some little stories. I just moved out here for work and I got to buy shower curtains and hooks and all this stuff. And I've never bought this stuff before. I'm from Arizona. We always had walk-in showers, which maybe that's a DHV because that's a bigger shower, or sliding doors. And so I don't know what I need to get. Can you help me out? And she's like, "Oh, yeah, yeah." And she explains all this stuff to me, how you need a liner, you need a curtain, you need the hooks or the rings or something. These are the more expensive ones. These are the cheaper ones. This is what she likes doing. There's magnets in the bottom, all that stuff. See-through, clear, all that. So I'm getting a whole lesson on all of it. Along the way, I'm asking questions. I'm asking follow-up questions. I'm asking them who they are, what they're doing, what their plans are. And then I find out more details on all this stuff, what she's going to school for, what she got her scholarship in, what sports she plays, all that stuff. And then when I'm all done, I get everything I need. And I go, "Hey, mom, I have a question for you real quick. Another question, if you don't mind." And she goes, "What's that?" And I go, "Your daughter seems really cool. I don't know anyone out here. I think I might have to hit on her," because I know that they just moved out there and she doesn't know anyone. And I go, "I think I might have to hit on her if you're cool with that." She laughs. She's like, "Oh, you're a great guy. I'd love it." They both laugh. The mom goes into the next aisle to go shopping and buy more stuff. And now I'm alone with the daughter, talk to her, get her number, blah, blah, blah. So if I go direct in that situation, probably not the most calibrated, smooth move. But now doing what I did, that turns into a hilarious story. If we would have clicked, like that would have been a story she tells all of her friends that everyone knows about, like, "Oh, I met him at Target. Oh, he was so nice." Like that's the kind of, those experiences and moments are what you want to create. So that would have been, that's a perfect example of when to go indirect. So to summarize, direct versus indirect, which is better? Both. The right move at the right time. And then obviously, like, you'll have your personal style and your personal flair and what works best for you. And I remember that years ago, same thing with online game. Like some of the top guys were shitting all over online game. "Oh, that's not real game. Don't do that." And then there's a couple guys that's all they did. They specialized in it. And so then same thing. I was like, well, why not do both? Why not have the skills to go out and cold approach and do what I need to do to make awesome dates. And then also like have online dating profiles set up to help me meet women I would never meet normally. And I remember I was at one of the seminars teaching that, and that was the first lesson for online dating is it's not a replacement for cold approach pickup. And a couple of the other coaches came over afterwards and they were like, yeah, you're the first guy who ever did online game that said that. And that makes sense now. And so a couple of them I actually helped out with their profiles later. One of them in New York, I even helped him with it when the next speaker was going. And then like 2 hours later, he already had a date lined up. So anyways, when to use each, the right move at the right time. How do you figure that out? Well, that's from experience and calibration. And you need to realize the right move at the right time. Otherwise, if you try to force something, like I'm trying to rebuild, I have another lantern like this. I'm trying to rebuild it, but there's like a screw in there. It's a weird slotted, real fat check valve bolt. It's brass. If I just get the screwdriver and stick it in there and try to just force it out, well, everything I've seen is that destroys it. It messes it up. It's very difficult. You can damage it. So I got online and I found the correct tool that you have to buy just to remove that one bolt, and it's like $30. And old me would have been like, no way, I'm not spending $30 just to get like one screw adapter bolt bar thing that you put in there and screw and then get a wrench and pull it off. Like I'm not spending $30 on that. I didn't want to spend $20 on the programming cable for my radios. I was like, oh no, I'm not gonna spend $20 on that. And then I spent hours and hours and hours trying to program those radios by hand and screwed it all up. And then I bought one eventually. And I wish I would have just got it in the first place. Well, as I was working on one of those the other day, I actually had the screwdriver in it. And I was like, I think I can get it. Like this one, I have a flathead. I was like, I think I can get this. And I started turning and I was like, no, let's trust my gut. Let me not, let me not do this. Cause what's going to happen? I'm going to mess it all up. And then later, if I get the tool and it's all gouged out and stuff, I won't be able to even use the right tool. So experience, like I just felt it the other day with the other one of those, like 3 days ago, 4 days ago, I just ordered the part. So experience will teach you. And this goes into something else I talked about in the last live stream, where it never gets easier. You get better. Well, as you get better, you get more experience. You start realizing what the right move is and what the right time is for it. So anyways, that's the simple, quick, I didn't want to make this like a 50-minute one. That's a simple, quick, like last week's explanation of direct versus indirect. A couple guys here, if anyone has any questions, post away. Otherwise, I just was also going to throw out in this video a simple like beginner's drill that I do for new guys, which is, and I can add to this, I can add more to this to the next one, but anytime I start working with new guys, the very first thing I ask them is like, how many cold approaches have you done in the last 30 days? And most of the time they'll answer 0. And I go, well, how do you expect to get better at this stuff, to get a girlfriend? Most of the guys who get into this stuff, it's not, they don't want just to put tons of notches on their belt. I mean, only single digits, like I think less than 5 students of mine have ever told me, like, I don't want to settle down. I want to have lots of fun. I want to hook up with chicks. And like, I don't want to do anything else. Like, I'm not going to. I'm getting an alert on Discord. Is someone posting? Okay. Sometimes I get questions on different things. If you ever do that and see that, ask questions on the thing I'm on. That's always the best. I really like it when if I'm doing a live stream or something, I get like a text message. And I'm like, great, now I got to get my phone out. Anyways, most guys I've coached aren't looking for multiple women. They're like, I just want a girlfriend. Like, I would like a girlfriend, and then to see if she's cool, like if she's the one, like I would like to settle down. So most of the guys I coach, that's what they're about. They're not trying to hook up with tons of girls. And I think I'm really good at helping guys with that, because like I was married when I was 23, got divorced 24. So I was already trying to be done dating and doing all this stuff back then, 20 years ago. So yeah, I'm 43. So when the guys get into the stuff and they're trying to just go out and get a girl, I'm like, well, how many cold approaches have you done? None. In the last 30 days, none. I'm like, well, how do you think you're going to meet her? And I guess for some reason, all these fucking Lifetime movies and Hallmark movies and all that, those rom-coms. You think it's just magically going to happen, but it doesn't happen that way. Like very, very, very rarely. And if it hasn't happened so far, I'm not I'm not leaving my life up to fate and chance. Especially if you don't get out of the house. Like, where's the opportunities for it to even happen if you're not going out and doing stuff? If you live a very active life and you're getting out of the house and doing lots of things, yeah, the chances are higher for it. But I'll ask them, I'll go, how many cold approaches did you do in the last 30 days? And usually the answer is 0 or a couple, 2 or 3. And I'm like, well, first off, you can't be antisocial. I'll break it down for a week. 20 cold approaches a week is the first homework assignment I give guys, because it lets me know how serious they are, what they're struggling with, because then most guys can't do it. And then I know instantly, okay, it's approach anxiety, social anxiety. Some of the guys come back and they're like, oh yeah, I did 20. And I'm like, okay, well, what'd you say? How'd you say it? What was your goal? And then I figure out that's the issue. So anyways, 20 cold approaches. You can't be antisocial for the average or the majority of the week, which if you are for the week, then you are for the month. And if you are for the month, you are for the year. So you can't be antisocial the majority of the week. If you're going to try to lose weight, you don't lose weight by being unhealthy for 5 or 6 days during the week and then healthy for one day. Like, you need to be healthy for 4 days. It's even better to be healthy for 5 days. It's way better to be healthy for 6 or 6.5. And you have like a cheat meal or a cheat day, right? Like, that's the best way to get into shape and lose weight and all that. It's not some secret magic formula. It's just common sense. So if you want to become a social person who is good at this stuff and can go out and cold approach whenever and wherever you want, A, you got to get out of the house. B, you got to be out of the house over 50% of the week minimum. It's really more 75, 80, 90%. And that's not that hard to do. Like, in the morning before you go to work, give yourself a little time to go get a coffee. Do a cold approach or 2. Lunchtime, get out of the office, do a cold approach. After work, go to the grocery store, do a couple cold approaches. Be smart about it. Realize that the focus is my homework assignment, not shopping. So I can go to the grocery store and buy 5 things, and the next day go back and buy 2 more things, and the next day to go to a different store and buy 2 more things. And right now, right there, 3 different times I'm out of the house. So you just got to make opportunities happen. And then you got to open your mouth. And then you got to not be creepy, not be weird, say something cool, not look like a weirdo, not be, like I said, creepy, weirdo. Those are the kiss of death when it comes to this stuff. So if you aren't those things and you're getting out of the house and you're doing some cool stuff in your life, living a DHV life, it's actually not that hard at all to get dates. And online dating proves that, because you can sign up for on the app and look at all the profiles there. And then that just proves that there's all these women out there just hoping, like, they're trying to make it easy for guys to come along and sweep them off their feet. So they're out there. You just got to show up, not creep them out, be kind of a cool dude, not look disgusting and stink, and be awkward and weird and creepy and come off as insecure and all that stuff. Because why would a high caliber woman want to lower standards and be with one of those guys? Like, you got to be the guy to deserve the woman that you want, right? Otherwise, if she has real low standards and will go out with losers, like, what does that say about her? So take some work. It's not that much work. Seems like it is, but it's really not, especially if you have someone helping you. And then very quickly, like, your whole dating life can transform. So anyways, I put this video out on my email list. I put it on social media. I put it on Discord so I could share it. And just wanted you guys to have this because holidays are coming up. I remember what it was like years ago to be alone after I got separated, and then my divorce went through. We'd filed the paperwork, and it went through and got approved like December 30th, December 31st. How many days were there? I should know that. Yeah, December. I think it went through on December 31st, like the last day of the year. And then I was stood up for a New Year's Eve date, which is a horrible, horrible date idea for this girl I met at online who worked at like Walgreens, like so bad. So AFC. And if I went through it and I know how bad it sucks. So I was trying to put this out here to help some guys out who might be alone for the holidays because it makes being alone a little rougher, a little more lonely, a little more painful. But really, like extreme ownership, like that's really got to think about it. Like, oh, if I'm alone for the holidays, that's my fault because there's lots of people out there that I could spend time with. There's more than a couple million around, right? So if you're living up in the mountains and no one's around, then move. If you're living with your parents, I remember a student saying this, oh, how do I pick up girls when I live at home? And I'm like, well, don't live at home. He's like, oh, well, I can't afford to move out. I'm like, okay, well, get a better job. Well, I have a job. I was like, okay, well, get two jobs. Well, I actually have two jobs. I'm like, oh, well, remind me next time we talk to tell you about the time I used to have three jobs because there's a million excuses, but if you want it, you can make it happen. So like I said, I've been there. It sucked. I know what it's like firsthand. So here to help if you guys want to get over that hump. And yeah, that's why I did this. So hopefully this helped. If you guys have any questions, shoot them to me. I love answering. I love putting out more stuff to help everyone. And you can always hop on Discord if you don't want to use your YouTube username and account. Put it on Discord and post it there. The Bravo Hood. It's linked on my website. There's a button on the top. And happy to help. And if you want more help coaching, I mean, we're not getting any younger. New Year's coming up. And if this year didn't go the way you wanted it, extreme ownership, figure out why, and let's make the next year better and the rest of your life better. And again, I'm living proof that this stuff works. And going from the lowest of the low with my divorce to now happily married with a family, like it works. So worked for me. I've coached tons and tons of guys around the world. I can help you. So reach out if you want it. If not, I wish you all the best and Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Happy New Year. And I think maybe I'll do one more live stream before the end of the year. So if you guys want help, reach out. Later, guys.